Okay, I'm gonna show how to make a sunset like this. So we're gonna do it on a smaller piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It may not be exactly like the other one, but it'll be very similar. Just can't really make the same thing perfect over and over. Okay, so we start with yellow, and really I start with Marvy's because they're brighter than some of the hero arts. So I start with them as a base. So I'm gonna start with yellow Marvy, and I'm gonna swipe it in just below where I want the horizon. And I find that using cotton balls make things easier to blend. And I use the Killer Box Stylus tools as well as makeup brushes. And I'm just estimating where I want this horizon line to be. Like that. And kind of want, like this one, kind of want the yellows and oranges to just be here. And then I'll do blues and purples and pinks up here. And I swipe it in typically. And while it's wet, I will use some other colors as well. Some other yellows and oranges. And don't worry, if you mess up, it's not a big deal. There's, you know, sunsets and sunrises can be very, very varied, and it won't look like a mess up. Anything you think is a mess up won't look like it. Skies are very forgiving because they can look any way you want them to, and they'll be pretty realistic looking. I'm gonna use some orange from the Hero Arts up here. And actually, I'm gonna layer, use some ochre. This is my red, I'm gonna use some ochre with it. The clouds up here, I kind of make a upward motion. With the tool. This one won't be just like the other one, I'm just going with how I feel about it. And I'm going to do some of the pinks and purples. This is Ombre. Well, it's the purple and pink one. I don't remember the name of it, but I will list the name below. Okay, so my purples and pinks here. I'm gonna swipe some of these, some pink in here. And I'm gonna build up. It's green. I really like to use cotton balls because cotton balls can give you a softer feel than makeup brushes or color box tools. So that's when I use cotton balls. It's when I want a softer look. Something, can't control it really well, but it gives you a softer look, a softer blend. You can dab it and then swipe it on. Like that. And take time to just pause and look at it and determine if you're liking the way it's going. Sometimes it's hard to tell what it'll look like when you're done, and it'll have ugly stages. You just gotta keep going through those ugly stages, because sometimes it doesn't look like much, but then a few steps later it'll look like really great. So sometimes you just have to work through that first. I'm using some purples over here. I've got, I'll put these where you can see them better. Since I'm pretty much done with the yellows, I'm gonna remove those, but I'm not done with these, so I'll keep them. These are the color palettes I'm using. Orange, yellows, light blue, purple, pink, and pink, purple. Okay. Putting some light blues into that. It's just about building colors on top of each other, a little bit at a time. And I like to use reference photos. That's what this one's from. It's just a random sunset picture. It gives me something to work off of, even if it turns out nothing like it. It still gives me a more realistic look in the end, because I'm using a real reference. And I'm gonna use some oranges over here. Bring in some from this side. And if I want to dull something down, as soon as I swipe it or something, or blend it, I just wipe off the excess real quick. Blend it off. I don't really want more orders up there. I need to add in some reds. And I'm just using the edge when I put this down. I'm not putting it down flat and making big oval shapes. Just using the edge. Put some, no, this is red over purple. I found that purple is a tricky color to use in sunsets because in the inks it doesn't tend to show up unless you put it on first. If you put it on second or third after colors, it blends in, it just turns into like a muddy red color. It doesn't actually show up as purple. And after there's already colors on the page. So if I want purple, I've been putting it down first. Because it's quite hard to add later and it not turn out just a muddy looking mess. Which sometimes looks fine, but if that's not the look I'm going for, then... so I like using yellow. Purple, not yellow, purple, down first. And then I can add more later if, over top. And let's see, sometimes it'll give a stronger impression of purple. Yeah, see. Over light colors is fine. Dark colors, it tends to turn to just a muddy red color instead of purple. Purple doesn't cover other colors like other things do, like reds. Reds are very strong. Some here. Let's see, I'm just leaving that little bit of blue peeking through. On this one. And but I've still got the basic, you know, downward slope from one angle instead of just straight across. Straight across is fine, but it's kind of boring. After you do it so many times, so I like doing more of an angle one way or the other. And you can also use purple over top of reds to make it more of a pinkish red or darker tone. It works for that pretty well. Again, if it's strong, you want to blend it, just wipe it with part of the clean cotton ball. Blend that in. put some reds up over here. Dabbing it gets more ink on the paper that I can move around. It makes it a little bit stronger. And sunsets tend to have very strong pinks and reds. If they have pinks and reds, they tend to be pretty prominent. So notice I'm putting in more areas of that red. And of course, red over top of orange comes out like a nice dark orange. It's very pretty. I'm just still using that edge to layer these inks. The more you layer, even if you are just randomly doing a sunset or sunrise and you're not looking at a picture to copy or anything like that, the more you layer, the better it looks. Color after color, the more you layer, typically the better it looks. But just light layers so you can kind of control your direction that you're going with it. If you do too much at once, it's easy to it turn into blah. But if you kind of control how much you're doing, then typically it won't. It'll still turn out nice regardless of what you do. And blue is the last thing I use. So I start with yellows, then oranges, then reds, and purples. Although I don't add reds until I've done the purple first, because otherwise it just turns into a darker, muddier red. So you do purples before reds in those areas, then reds on top, and leave space for the blue sky underneath or behind the clouds, because all these clouds are reflecting the sun, whether it's coming or going, and there's always sky behind it. So even if you only have a little bit of sky, it's better than no sky, because the blue, I think, just adds a little something to it. I don't know, that's just personal preference though. Lastly, you want to do blue. So I'm going to remove these and open this guy. This is this is a purple, teal, and blue, basically. But the purple, the purple's really more of a violet than it is a purple. So this side is blue, this side is purple, and you can tell it in person, but it's really hard to tell on camera, I'm sure. And the middle is teal. I don't want teal. But I am going to use purple and blue together, because this purple is very much a blue purple, and this blue is a very much teal blue. So together they make a very good royal blue. Almost purple blue. And for sunsets it works pretty well. I'm just going to swipe some in. Not being very particular about where it's going. I'm just getting some more color layers there. Because it's so wet, I can put a lot of ink on here and still like wipe the majority of it off. because I put so much other ink already down. You can always dab like this to create like clouds. It does work, right? It works pretty well actually for that. It doesn't look like much, but it actually is leaving some other blue tones on top there, which is looking nice. And I can use some of this. So lastly, when I want to create some shadows on these clouds, I put it on the top down, because the light is reflecting upwards, so the lightest part's going to be underneath and the darkest part's going to be on top. And then I dab it off to blend it. Contrast, sharp contrast helps sunsets look realistic. Oh, I switched on myself. That's red, not blue. I was like, why is that not dark enough? See? If you don't like them, they're a little too dark, that's okay. Wipe it away. Your paper's still wet enough. I mean, put this one over here. Put that down and wipe most of it away. I'm just creating more interest by doing this. I've got like every color there is in here. Blues, purples, reds, orange, yellows, pinks. Mix it up. You can make larger looking clouds or smaller looking clouds. All I'm doing is using the edge of this to build. And then dab to blend. Sometimes it'll take too much off, sometimes it won't take enough, but either way. Using the cotton ball blends things really nicely so that even if you don't like something, you can remove it, or you can leave just traces of it. Anyway, there you go. I think that was pretty well done. And if you want a reflection, you can always do both sides, like the whole page, and just do half and then flip it around and do the other half and eye it and do the same, the opposite on the other side. So the reflection of it. And so there's the sunset. I'm gonna set that one aside, and I'm gonna show you how to do wispy clouds. So actually, I might have a scene to do that on already. I think I do, actually. This one. So I've got this scene already pretty much put together and ready for a background. And I could cover up this bird and mask it, but I don't really think I need to for this because I typically don't need to, but I'll just be careful to not get blue on it. Where's the other lid? Okay. So for this one, I'm going to be using blues mainly. I might throw a little bit of pink in there, might not. No oranges. I'm not doing oranges and yellows for this one. So I'm just gonna get my blue. Blue. Reds and blues. Greens and browns. Okay. And I'm gonna show you how to do resistant ink. I figured this out recently. I'm actually not that practiced at it yet, but it has worked really well for me so far. So you get a Q-tip, and you get Versamark. It is a resistant ink. So you put it, when you put it on, it won't let other inks through. So it stays clear or white in that area. So you use it as a resist on the surface. I use the Q-tip to make Wispy Clouds, and I hope to eventually do this more in a way that's like rain clouds, but you know, I'll get to that. Eventually I'll get that to work out how I want it. So I get the ink on the Q-tip real good. And I'm going to swipe upwards from the bottom. And no, you can't see it very well. Well, on the camera you can. I can see it under the light. If you hold it at a slight angle, you can see where it's going. And since my other things are colored, I don't have to worry about it if I get it on the barn or on the trees or on the bird. It doesn't really matter. It's not gonna hurt it. So I put some down, and I'm making little lines with it. So if you ever looked at an almost clear sky where there's just these super light brushes of clouds that are all lines, that's what I'm going for here. So I will create some areas of lines, and most of the time Wispy Clouds are, at least the pictures I've looked at and used, are a little bit angled, either angled upwards this way or crisscross. I mean, there's just lots of different, but they're usually never straight. They're always curved. So your best, or your more realistic option is to make them curved, no matter which direction you go with them. I'm going to put some down here. And when I put the ink on, you'll be able to see where those clear sections are. And don't worry about putting too much, because really, some of the ink around the edges will seep through. Not a lot, but some. And you'll be able to blend, since I'm using a Q-tip, it's not like stamping it. Stamping it resists really well with stamping. But with Q-tips, it's a little bit lighter of an application, so it's not quite as strong. But you're going for light. You want this to be super wispy looking and carefree, you know. So you can, I'm almost done. I've got some over here by this tree that I want to include. And it can pick up other ink, so if you see there's color and everything, twist it and use a different spot. It can pick up other ink that's already down on your scene. I typically use this, or I've been using this method for scenes that that I'm already almost done with. For backgrounds like the sunsets, I don't really like doing sunsets on ones that I have already done because it's difficult. With things already in the mix, you could do it, but you have to mask stuff, and this is more of a thing that you can do without masking, and I'll show you why. You can still mask it if you're worried about getting color on your already stamped images, but I think I'm nice and done here. I think I've got enough on there. Kind of want the light over the barn a little bit more, so I'm going to add some here. Even though I already put some there, I'm going to add some more because I kind of really want that to show up. Okay. Alright, so doesn't really have to dry. You can let it dry, but it doesn't really have to. It won't go anywhere. Alright, so I'm going to use this blue and this one, which is the super light it's that blue, purple, pink. I like the blue on there to start with because it's so light. It makes things easy. And I will probably use a cotton ball, although I'll probably use a new one because I don't quite want to start with that darker blue yet. So, getting a cotton ball. Again, a good way to apply because it's light. You can start light. I'm going to start with dabbing it and swiping it, and you'll see my streaks appear. You see? Well, you probably can't see much yet. So I dab it and swipe it. And see, it resists the ink. And I don't want to get really blue with the bird, so I'm just going to wipe around it. And it's okay to leave out areas altogether. Like, with this method, the sky can be, you know, you don't have to get the blue everywhere. Just in different places, it'll still look good. I'll show you what I mean when I get there. I'm going to start with just getting this around the tree and edges and things. Beware, greens are really, really really likely to spread. You can pick them up, blacks and greens, like the ones in this tree. So I'm trying not to bring those into the scene. So when I get these wet, since they're already stamped, I'm swiping outside of the scene. If you swipe into the scene, you're likely to get some greens and grays and blacks, because for some reason the Marvy and the black, when they're reactivated, like when they're re-wet with other ink on top, they don't tend to stay there. They like to spread. So, like down here I can see it's getting a little gray because it picked up gray from the tree. Now the sky's okay to get gray in it because this is light enough that it's not gonna get blue in the bird unless you go directly on it. Even if you swipe into it, it's not gonna get blue on the bird. It's not gonna show up. It's super light. Alright, so now you see kind of what I mean there. You can see all of these wispy looking clouds. And you can always build up the corners. Usually looks pretty good to do that with stronger blues. You know, dab it on, swipe it in. You see the ink will stay on the surface of where those white areas are from the resistant ink, Versamark. And you can go on to using a darker blue, like this, and dabbing it on, swiping it in. That. And I'm using the dry side to wipe off some of that. I'm gonna get some blue behind the bird here. I see it's not perfect, but it looks well. You know, it looks realistic. It looks. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. I don't want to go all the way down. I want to leave some of this white back here because it'll appear as though there's more snow beyond this hill. You know, I kind of want to make that illusion a little bit. It's a very small detail. It doesn't really have to be there, but I like this kind of sky for winter scenes a lot. And you can see these streaks that I really put in here. You can see it's resisted all of this through here, these streaks, and it's resisted all through here. And you can always leave more spaces white if you want to. You don't have to fill in the thing. Don't feel like you have to fill in anything. Things when they're partially filled, especially skies, always look better. You don't have to fill in every available space that there is. You know, go with your gut. You know, if there's, leave a nice light space, especially if it's behind a figure.